Optimism is a strategy for making a better future.
Welcome to Agency for Change, a podcast from KidGlov that brings you the stories of change makers who are actively working to improve our communities. In every episode, we'll meet with people who are making a lasting impact in the places we call home.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Agency for Change podcast. This is Lyn Wineman, President and Chief Strategist of KidGlov. Today we are catching up with Wayne McIntyre. He is the CEO and co-founder of Relocalize. This is a company that is revolutionizing how water-based products are made and delivered, something we don't think about very often. Wayne and his team, they are leading the charge toward a truck-free future with autonomous microfactories that not only cut emissions, but they make better products more affordably. Relocalize is gearing up to deploy its first commercial unit later this year and expand into the cold pack market, which is an exciting step toward making their vision a reality. Wayne, welcome back to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Lynn. It's really great to be back. We've been very busy trying to turn local from a buzzword into a reality.
Ooh, I love that. Wayne, it's been a little over a year since you and I first talked. For those who maybe didn't hear that original episode, they can go back and listen to it because it's a really good one. But I'd love to have you give us an overview of Relocalize and the mission that you have ahead of you.
Well, very succinctly, Relocalize is in the business of building autonomous microfactories. And you might be asking, what is an autonomous
What is an
microfactory?
autonomous microfactory? That was my next question. Yes.
And essentially what we do is we have these small factories and they produce food products or food industry related products right at the point of distribution or fulfillment. And they do it on demand. And what that means is if you're doing it, say, at a distribution center where that food product goes to either a customer or a store from that location, you're cutting out all the trucks between the centralized factory and the distribution center. That's called the middle mile. And also because you're doing it on demand, if it's a refrigerated or frozen product, you don't cut out all of the cold storage as well. And why do you want to do that? You want to do that for two very simple reasons. One, you want to cut costs. And for the other reason that's near and dear to my heart is it significantly cuts carbon. We're talking about the 90%.
Yeah, wow, 90%. That is huge. Now, I am really curious, and I wasn't planning to ask you this question, but when we talk about microfactories, like how big are they? Like, are they as big as a loaf of bread? I know they're bigger than a loaf of bread. Are they the size of a semi truck? Like, what are we talking about here?
So the factory we're talking about we would still call it industrial scale. We call it micro industrial scale.
Got
And
it.
that means it supports, say, 100 to 200 stores.
Oh, okay. All right.
So we're talking about millions of units of production, or whatever the product is. And it sits at the distribution center, but it's still quite efficient because there are only robots in there. You don't need a lot of space for people. It's about 1,200 square feet.
Wow.
1,200 square feet. So it is pretty micro when you compare that to a full scale factory.
Got it. I knew it was bigger than a loaf of bread. That just is what popped into my mind when I thought of micro. So anyway, Wayne, how'd you get into this line of work? I know we talked about this in the first podcast, but it's such an interesting thing to think about and do. Most of us, when we go to the grocery store, the convenience store, when we buy our food, I don't think a lot of us really think about how did it get from the place where it started to the place where I'm going to purchase it very conveniently.
I mean, for me, it all started, I've been in tech for 25 years.
Yeah.
And, on the side, I've been living, sustainability has been critically important to me. And I always have these things separate.
Yeah.
Right. And,
Right.
For me, for years, I've been looking for that opportunity where how do I bring my personal passion for sustainability? I've been carbon negative for 20 years.
That's amazing because 20 years ago, a lot of us were not talking about that.
No, and it's a little bit by accident. My personal passion is actually like rewilding and biodiversity as well as climate change. And they're interconnected. And so I had basically acquired some land to rewild. And, it also comes with a carbon benefit. And so,
Yeah.
but, my business interests were always separate, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think, purpose and business can come together. And that's really what Relocalize is. And this concept, this idea of hyper localizing production. In our case, we're manufacturing right now packaged ice, and we're
Packaged ice.
packaging and cold packs, which are the kind of those things you see in maybe a meal
Yeah.
kit delivery or a pharmaceutical delivery. And we were focused on those ones right now because this is the place where they're heaviest. They're very carbon intensive because they require a lot of trucking and
Yeah.
they require cold storage. So
Yes.
the reason I got into this was to make a difference. And the reason we went with, first packaged ice and now cold packs is because here's a place where we can have the most impact and at the same time also get a lot of traction because we can save money as well as time.
I love that. Wayne, when I mentioned earlier, I think very few of us think about how our food got from where it started to where we buy it. I think of the food and items we buy, ice and cold packs might even be at the bottom of the list of things
Mhm.
we think about. So let's talk a little bit more. I mean, how can you make a big difference? We talked in the last episode about ice, and I wouldn't mind if we talk a little bit more about ice just to pull it together, but
Mhm.
talk to me about the cold packs because I would just never even think about cold packs being a product that creates an environmental issue.
Well, I think in order to make a difference, right? If you think about a grocery store or any product, right, there are tens of thousands of products that we buy,
Yeah.
right? And so we almost have to take it product by product, right, in order to make a huge difference and really redesign the supply system for each and every one of those products.
Yeah.
And if we think about cold packs, what's really exciting about cold packs and got us really pumped about it is I actually experienced what it looks like in how a cold pack, the journey of a cold pack today. And so I'll
Wow.
just describe it for you. It's, basically this nasty kind of gel stuff
Mm.
put into a package,
Mm.
vertical form, fill and seal.
Yeah.
And, that gel makes it easier to manufacture is the main reason they use it. And then those packages go into boxes.
Yeah.
Those boxes then go into pallets. And then
Mm.
those pallets are then delivered to a cold storage warehouse that may be hundreds or even in some cases up to 1,000 miles away.
Yeah.
And then they sit in cold storage for 3 or 4 weeks to what they call condition.
Mm.
Conditioning is just the fancy word for freezing or reaching the
Okay.
temperature they need to reach in order to
Yeah.
be useful
I'm
in,
never
say,
gonna
meal
look
kit
at a cold
delivery.
pack the same way again, Wayne. Just want
And
you
then
to
it goes
know.
on another truck to say, go to the meal kit company or the pharmaceutical company or the ready to eat meal kit company. So you look at all that, like the boxes, the plastic, the gel, it's kind of nasty business. But on top of that, all that trucking and cold storage has a huge footprint. And
Mhm.
so, in our world, we look at that and we say, what if I made it on demand?
Yeah.
And what if I packaged it differently too? And now this is R&D level for us right now, but what if it was packaged in waterproof paper? That was curbside repurposable. So now you've got the plastic goes away, the gel goes away, the trucks go away, the cold storage goes away. It's just I think again, it's just one product of many products,
Yeah.
but it's a product where, wow, we can just make such a big difference by not just changing the product, but changing the whole supply system involved.
Yeah. Wayne, I don't even know this is you being a tech guy and everything you've done. Just as a human, I go on red alert whenever one of those cold packs pops open because at some point in
Mhm.
my life, I have learned that whatever that stuff is on the inside is very dangerous and needs to be disposed of right away if something happens. So even just the thought of getting rid of whatever that ooze is seems to be a really good idea. So how does it work for you then? So because I know that you've got some exciting developments coming on, you're deploying the first commercial unit later this year. What will it look like for you with cold packs? You mentioned that's in R&D, I think. And what does it look like for ice? Like what is the journey, the difference in the journey here?
I think the journey is very similar, actually.
Okay.
At the end of the day, we're making ice and then we're packaging it.
Okay.
It's a very similar platform technology. And I think the last time we talked, we had our demonstration system down in Florida. right? And
Yeah.
it was, we were on store shelves. It was an exciting project. It was actually the world's first dark factory for the food and
Wow.
beverage
And
industry.
what does that mean? I mean, just for those of
Mhm.
us that are not in the manufacturing space, a dark factory means
Well, robots don't have eyes. They don't need to see.
okay.
So you can turn out the lights. And so
Wow.
you think about, Amazon, they have a lot of automation in
Yeah.
their warehouses. And when Amazon, their CEO, and I can't remember the quote precisely off the top of my head,
Right.
but, he talks about how, 20 years from now, they expect to be dark. In other
Wow.
words, be fully automated. We're already there. We were there, March of 2023. We launched that POC. We ran it
Yeah.
for a year. We learned a lot. Customers loved the product, or customer loved the product, and it really validated a lot of the tech. And so the big thing that's coming for us right now is we've gone from this smaller scale, kind
Yeah.
of, 400 square foot facility, now to our full scale facility. There are more robots, there's more speed, there's more quality, all the, a lot of the bugs have been worked out. And so now we'll be able to serve, instead of just a handful of stores, hundreds of stores with this new factory. So we're really excited. And this is the point where it all becomes real.
Yeah.
We're a real business, not just a R&D shop, right?
Yeah. I know though you and your team have, even though it's a lean and mean team, I know that you've been doing real work for a long time. So what does this got to feel like for you and the team to really have this first unit coming online?
I mean, this is a 4 years of
Wow.
love, too much
Yeah.
money, too
Yeah.
much sweat, a few
Yeah.
tears along the way too, right? And so to actually have it become real is really a huge milestone for us. And, it's like, caterpillar, cocoon, butterfly, right? I think
Yeah.
we really feel like this is our moment where, hey, this is real. This is going to be a business. This is going to start. The impact is now not going to be something we just talk about. It's something that's going to be real.
Yeah.
And, and then from there, it's commercial scale. How can we grow our impact and really prove that, hey, not only does this work, but actually we can crush the incumbents. We can
Whoa.
dominate the market, not just be in the market,
Yeah.
dominate the market. That's our
Right. Because
objective.
the price, I mean, really, the price of ice, if you can get that lower, that's amazing. That's amazing.
The reality for extremely heavy products, right? So whether it's a beverage,
Yeah.
whether it's a cold pack, doesn't really matter. If you, other than marketing costs, the number one cost is logistics. The second
Mm,
largest cost is packaging, right?
yeah.
And so, if we can remove a lot of the
Logistics and
logistics, can we
packaging.
remove a lot of the cold storage, and ultimately, if we can move from plastic to paper, you're pulling out a whole lot of cost from that system while you're doing good. And really, what that allows you to do, and this is why we pick this market, is scale aggressively. Because
Mm,
if you're going to a customer and you're saying, "Hey, I'm better,
yeah.
right?
Right.
I'm cheaper."
Right.
You can also say you're greener, but
Mhm.
you don't need to be anymore, right? And so for some customers, maybe that green is motivating. For others, it may
Right.
not be. It just doesn't matter. Those first two mean,
Those first
yeah,
2 are going to be enough.
yeah. I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
tree hugger, right? But
Yeah.
just because I'm a tree hugger doesn't mean everybody else is. We want people to buy this product not because they're because
Right.
they're worried about climate change like I am, not because they're worried about the environment like I am, but because it's a great product. That's how
Yeah.
we scale our impact and our business.
I love that because you're right, Wayne. There's a lot of products out there that are purpose driven, doing great things for the world. But I think what we find time and time again is there is a small percentage of the audience who will spend up for a green product, but there's a lot of the audience that will go for the better, cheaper product, right? As a matter of fact, a lot of the audience will go naturally towards the better, cheaper. And so what you've done is you've made this better, cheaper, and greener. I mean, that's the trifecta there, isn't it?
I mean, that's the goal, right? And we like to think of ourselves as being a bit subversive in our impact. In other words, impact matters to us, but you know what? A great business matters to everybody. A great product matters to everybody. And that way, if everybody's buying it,
Yeah.
we can talk about green or not, because the reality, I think the mistake we've made in the past, and I've made a few mistakes myself, I think,
Hey, you don't get
is
into entrepreneurship and not make a few mistakes, right? Like, I
that is
believe,
for sure.
yeah, I believe it's like skiing. If you don't fall down every once in a while, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah, I've face planted a couple times. But the reality, I think, is that, when if you can't change the world just by being premium, or just by
Yeah.
focusing on early adopters, or just by focusing on the product for those people who are really motivated to action. And the unfortunate reality in a time of inflation, and a time of, a lot of people are struggling to put food
Yeah.
on the table,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so, if that food comes with a cold pack in it, let's say, for example, or somebody needs a medication and it comes with a
Yeah.
cold pack in it, if we're making that cold pack just a little bit cheaper at the same time as it's greener, well,
Yeah.
great. They were making things more affordable at the same and accessible at the same time we're making it greener. And that's again why we really love the market, the water-based product market, because here's a place where these things can go together.
There's a huge opportunity. And Wayne, as a marketing professional, it just says to me that businesses will have more money to spend on marketing. Buy
Absolutely.
more marketing. That's my mantra for the day. No, I'm just kidding there. So Wayne, you got a lot of momentum going on. You've got this first manufacturing plant coming online. You're getting ready to scale aggressively. You got the cold bags coming online. What else is in the future for you? What are you excited about?
I mean, I think we're really excited to not just, not just be a startup, right? And to not
Yeah.
just be I
Yeah.
think actually show a model that maybe works. I think
Right.
other places, I mean, we've considered beverage and other markets, like other markets we can grow into. But the reality is there's billions of dollars of opportunity in the markets we're already in.
Yep.
And I don't mind if we create some competitors. Right? I'm hoping that
Wow.
people look at our model and look what we're doing. There's a more than a big enough pie for all of us here
Right.
in what we're doing. And what I would really hope is as we scale, as we start to prove that hyperlocalization can work, that you can go from just manipulating a little node in a network to actually look at the whole network, the whole
Yeah.
system, and pursuing system level change. What I hope that does is inspire others to do the same thing. I'm sure some of them will be inspired to compete with us, and we'll see you in the market. And I think that that's a healthy thing and it's a normal thing,
Yeah.
and we welcome. But the other part is other people will say, "Hey, that's a neat idea." Just like there are other people's ideas in what we're doing. Right?
Yeah.
Um,
Right. Right.
I borrowed, this came from a bunch of other businesses too. Hopefully somebody looks at what we're doing and says, "Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
I could see a micro factory at the other end of the supply chain. It's maybe processing soybeans close to the farmers and turning it into a powder so that we can move powder instead of heavy water-filled beans." And they come up with their own idea, and suddenly there's a new micro factory making an impact somewhere else in the supply chain.
Right. Because you're
That's
not going to have
doing the
time
same
to
kind
do
of
it all.
business.
There's a lot of food. There's a lot of things that we buy that could benefit from this idea, Wayne. It seems to me, I'm thinking back to the last time you and I talked. It seems to me like you shared a quote with me about the difference between just having an idea and bringing that to execution. Do you remember that quote?
Absolutely. This is a favorite mine for a little bit of a mantra for me for a long time, right? It's like ideas are easy, right?
Right.
Execution is hard,
Yeah.
and an idea, it's easy to dream. It's fun to dream, and often entrepreneurs think, I've got an idea. I need to hide it. I
Yeah.
need to protect that idea. The reality is you usually don't. Right? And
Right.
why? It's because the execution is the hard part. And what it really differentiates those of us who have an impact with that idea is not the idea, it's what we do with it.
It's
The
that
execution.
commitment. I mean, it feels like you and your team have been in this idea to execution mode for 4 years, and now you're just really, really ready to blast off. I feel it just talking to you through the screen, and I'm curious, that leads me to my next question, Wayne. Like, this is hard work, and sometimes you are working long days, nights, weekends. There's days when it's not working and you have to retool and rethink and find investors and deal with investors. I mean, What drives your team to keep pushing the work forward at Relocalize?
It's been not always been an easy 4 years. That's the reality.
Yeah,
And I think, you don't want to, glamorize, you know, excessive work and overworking.
absolutely, right. You
But
you don't. Yeah, the
the reality
reality.
is, when you're a small team and then there's funding and there's a gap in your funding and then something works and then it doesn't work and all these emergencies, unfortunately it's not easy, right? It's not easy.
Right.
That startup phase, I think and now we're going into that next phase, which is commercialization. And I think the team has been motivated to get to where we are now,
Yeah.
deploy one full scale, show that it works. And in the next phase, we kind of have to grow up a little bit too,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
We can't, I've got an amazing team, completely dedicated. They've got this one foot in the future
Yep.
and then also another foot firmly planted in the present,
Yeah.
delivering on what we're doing. And it's a special group of people that can live in that environment and commit, deliver on a goal. And, they've been driving so hard now for such a long time. And we have to move into a new phase where now it's like, okay, now we're commercial. Now there's going to be more planning. There need to be,
Yeah.
we can't do everything on
On a shoestring. Right. Right.
we're,
Yeah.
we're still going to do some shoot. We're still going to be
You'll be
pretty
lean.
lean.
Yeah.
But I think, at this next phase, you have to start to build the processes and the capabilities and the people to scale, right?
Yeah.
So in a startup, somebody gets hit by a bus, that proverbial bus that's just driving around looking for your key
Yes.
people, right? You get
Right.
hit. The bus is a terrifying reality, right? Well, as you're scaling, you can't have all your,
Right.
you have to have some redundancy and depth to your team. And I think this is the next step where we'll be growing into that. And
Yeah.
it won't be overnight. It'll probably be over a period of years, but, we move from, I think, sometimes firefighting, sometimes
Right.
reacting,
Yep.
sometimes, jumping on opportunities, and that's the classic startup mode into, I think, more of a, okay, plan, execute, deliver, plan, execute, deliver. There will still be failures and challenges,
Right.
but that's the next phase for us. And I think we're excited about that.
Wayne, it makes me think of a book that I have on my shelf. And honestly, I'm going to say, don't tell anyone other than the people listening. I didn't love the book, but I love the title. And the title is What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Like, I love that
Mhm.
as a mantra. When you get to a point in a business like where you are now, the team's going to have to make that shift. And I appreciate your willingness to discuss that, and the team will probably be excited about that as well. So I'm really curious then to take this to the next step. What advice would you give to somebody who might be out there that has a similar situation where they're like, hey, I've got this personal passion. I've got this work talent and skill set that I have. I'd really like to combine them to make a difference in the world. What advice do you have?
I think the most important advice is don't wait,
Don't
right? I think,
wait. Yeah.
yeah, oh, we need the perfect idea. We need the
Yeah.
perfect, we need the perfect team. I need the,
Yeah.
I think, it's the action, it's the executing that allows you to end up where you are. Well, believe it or not, this business started with a vertical farming company,
Really?
right? It
Yeah.
was okay. What if we were making, in this case, I was looking particularly at mushrooms at the time.
Yeah.
They don't need light, so it's a lower energy requirement. What if we were making mushrooms at, say, a distribution center or in a local place and delivering mushrooms the way that we're doing the product we're doing now? As you start to think through and talk to people and run financial models and design business models, it became readily apparent to me that that idea of having lower cost and green did not work for that.
Mhm.
Right. It was, again, this would have had to be maybe a better product, but it would have been a more expensive product.
Mm.
It may be a
Yeah.
greener product, but again, a more
Yeah.
expensive product. And it didn't deliver. And that's, and just by chance, I met this really interesting guy who, been developing a better mousetrap for the package ice industry.
Yeah.
And that just, I started thinking about it, talking to him, running business models, and really realized, like, wow, products made of water are the place, all the things that make vertical farming challenging products made of water that are manufactured are kind of the complete opposite,
Yeah.
right? From a unit economics perspective, from a, and I would have loved to grow those mushrooms, but, I think the journey took me to another place. And why did that happen? Just by starting to execute against your ideas or pursuing that passion. And I never would have guessed when I was first looking at mushrooms, I would have ended up in packaged ice. But
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know what? That's the way the journey is.
Yeah. Wayne, something I appreciate about what you just said, in our business of marketing, we like to say, don't fall in love with your first idea, right? And sometimes as entrepreneurs, we get so excited about the first idea. And sometimes you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing for the first idea, when oftentimes the second or third
Mhm.
or fourth or fifth idea is maybe the best idea. But to stay committed to moving forward, but also flexible enough to see when a better idea comes along. I really appreciate that. Keeping this in the lines of marketing, we're in a business at KidGlov where we do a lot of branding. We wrote a book this year on branding. I've always really liked your brand name, Relocalize. Can you tell me the story behind that and what it means to you?
Sure. I mean, we're a tech company, right?
Yeah.
So, it had to reflect our inherent nerdiness a little bit. I mean, that's part of it. But ultimately, we wanted a name that aligned with our purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And, at the beginning, it was a working name for this project. It was
Yeah.
Pure Cube, Pure
Yeah.
Cube. And yeah, I mean, that described a business. I guess it could be a good brand or not. We would have probably needed some help from you to improve that one. That's for sure. But, it didn't really speak for our purpose, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think, relocalize really speaks for what we're trying to achieve, which is
Mm-hmm.
to, hyper localize manufacturing, and in particular, food manufacturing and water-based products. And it also, from a design perspective, it was very clean, it was
Yes.
very simple.
Yep.
And, I think it spoke to us and spoke to our mission. And ultimately, our products are the brand is less important in many ways.
Yeah.
And so with the retailers, for example, for packaged ice, this is more often than
People
not, I
aren't
guess,
really buying branded ice yet.
no,
Yet.
yeah, maybe soon later. But right now and for cold packs, really, your customer, are the Hello Freshes and the
Yeah.
Factors and, Hungry Orchard, Angry Roots, companies, the Blue Aprons. This is, yeah, and there's no brand in it.
Right.
It's an ingredient in their product, which
Yeah.
is branded, right? And so, Relocalize, I think, is a good B2B brand. It speaks to what we're doing and our purpose, and I think delivers what we need in
Yeah.
our unique situation. As you know, but better than I do, a customer facing brand. I don't know. What do you think? It
I
probably have to be different, maybe, right?
what I love about it is I think that as you get going here, I think relocalize can become a verb, just like Googling has become
Mhm.
a verb, right? And I think that's a really cool aspect of the brand. So I'm excited for you. I wish I had helped you work on it. So that's the best compliment I can pay you, Wayne. So for our listeners who are listening to this, they're excited about it, they want to find out more. Let's say the operations director for HelloFresh is listening in. How
Mhm.
do they get a hold of you, Wayne, and find out more?
Our website is a great place to reach out through. Obviously, you can just Google Relocalize. There aren't too many other hits that'll come up.
Perfect.
The other way is, of course, you can always look for me
Okay.
on LinkedIn, right? My full name is Douglas Wayne McIntyre, so I'm D Wayne McIntyre on LinkedIn.
Oh, I love that, D. Wayne.
So I don't think there are any other D Wayne. There are D Wayne McIntyres out there, so
All
they're easy
right.
to find.
Sounds good. We will, for those of you who want to check that out, we will have both of those links in the show notes on the Kid Glove website as well. All right. You know about this next question because you've answered it once. I already asked you about it on this show, but I love motivational quotes. I'm so lucky to get to talk to interesting people like you. Can you give us a second quote to inspire our listeners?
Absolutely, I think I may have stolen a little bit of this to someone, but anyways, it's
We're
something
going to say
inspired.
we'll say you took inspiration from. That's the way
It's
I
not exactly
always
the
like to
same.
say it. Yeah.
Well, you know what? This is the nature of entrepreneurship. Always are inspired right? We're always
Inspiration.
inspired by what's happening. But for me, optimism is a strategy for making a better future.
Mm.
That's my kind of, other Dutch people have expressed this idea other than me. And, the idea of there for me is very simple. We're always facing challenges, whether it's despeciation, it's extinction, whether it's climate change, whether it's inflation and putting food on the table, whether it's, access to healthcare. People are constantly struggling with challenges. And right now we
Yeah.
live in a world with a lot of uncertainty and,
Right.
AI change. It's hard to not look into your phone and look at a computer and talk about how AI is going to take over the world. The Terminator is coming. And I think, optimism is a critical resource in this world today. And optimism allows you to move forward and take responsibility for the world we live in and take action.
I
And
so appreciate that.
you need that hope. You need that optimism if we're actually going to get through things. Despair or a lack of hope is paralyzing, right? And
Yes.
we just need to keep moving forward, right?
That is such a great mantra, Wayne. Thank you for that. I wish I had that on a poster behind my head here. I think that is a really good one, and a especially relevant one for where we are right now at the end of 2025. There's some things happening in the world that you could get yourself really stuck on. And I think staying optimistic and realizing we each have the power to do something every day in our lives to make things better for ourselves and for others. So, Wayne, I loved having this conversation with you. As we wrap up our time together today, I'd love to hear what is the most important thing you would like our listeners to remember about the work that you're doing.
I think the one thing that I think we all need to think about is, we have a chance to affect change when we basically take a step back and part of a system, right? When we take a blank sheet of paper, we say, rather than just trying to affect change in a little corner over here or a little spot over there, if we look at the world as a system, right? If we look
Yeah.
at a problem as part of a complex system, we step back and say, you know what? Let's not just try to fix this little tiny niggly problem.
Yeah, let's go for a big
Go after
one.
the whole thing. I think thinking big and thinking about systemic change and all aspects of our lives, whether it's sustainability, manufacturing, social impact to society. I think sometimes we have to step back and say it's time to do something differently, and let's design something that works better.
Wayne, I love the way you think. I'm going to say I fully believe the world needs more people like you, more entrepreneurial enterprises like Relocalize. I really appreciate you coming back and talking with us again.
Thank you, Lynn. It's been great to speak with you again.
We hope you enjoyed today's Agency for Change podcast. To hear all our interviews with those who are making a positive change in our communities, or to nominate a changemaker you'd love to hear from, visit KidGlov.com at KIDGLOV.com to get in touch. As always, if you like what you've heard today, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.